In contrast to trigonometric identities, most of the trigonometric equations are true for only certain values of the variable. As we have an equations for expressions, as we have an equations for the logarithms, for the exponential functions, we have an logarithm and equations for the trigonometric. So now here in this lesson now, or in this problem here, we are going to see how can we solve the trigonometric equations. Here now you can think about it as an equations. We know them before from grade 7 in Algebra 1. Here we have 4 cosine of theta minus 1 equals cosine of theta. Then we need to put cosine of theta in a side and the number on the other side. So minus 4 cosine of theta minus 4 cosine of theta. So we have it as negative 1 equals negative 3 cosine of theta. Negative cancel negative. So that's mean cosine of theta will be 1 over 3. So here we simplify the equation. We get cosine of theta is 1 over 3. To solve the equation, we need to find theta. How can we find the angle? By use the inverse trigonometric function.
Cosine negative 1.
So now we found that cosine of theta is 1 over 3. So theta will be cosine inverse of 1 over 3. Then now we will do as we did yesterday. We ask yourself now, let's go to calculator. Let's see cosine inverse of 1 over 3. One of the angles is 70.5. But I need to see now the other angle. I will ask myself using the unit circle. In the unit circle, we know that add sugar to coffee. So we know that only in the first and the fourth quadrant, the cosine is positive. So that's mean if it is here 70.5, here from the nearest x-axis 70.5. So one of the angles is 70.5 and the second one will be 360 minus 70.5, which is 289.4 degree. Now I want the answer in degrees. Yes.
Teacher, can I say just like 360 minus 70.5?
Yes, Mo, that's it. And this will be the answer.
Yeah, yani no need for like drawing the graph and do it like that, right?
Yes, no need. If you know how to draw and find it, there's no. Now I want from you to tell me the answer in degrees, which is easier for you. So here, just say cosine inverse of 1 over 3. From the calculator, they tell me that one of the answers 70.5. But the other one, we need to draw the unit circle. We need to ask ourselves that cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. So from the nearest x-axis, we rotate 70.5 in order to find the second angle.
Okay, teacher.
Is it clear?
Yeah, teacher, we chose a quadrant 4 because of the cosine, because it's positive, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is it clear?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Another example now. Here, what values for theta from 0 to 2 pi satisfy the equation 3 sine theta plus 1 equal sine theta? 3 sine of theta plus 1 equals sine of theta minus.
Teacher, can you solve it and take bonus?
This one?
Yeah.
No. 1
okay.
equals negative 2 sine of theta. So sine of theta will be negative half. So here, I need to find theta, so it will be sine inverse of negative half. Then, now let's remember that sine any angle, or sine 30 is half. So, and you need to solve the equation. To solve the equation, I need to find theta. As I told you, we use the inverse trigonometric functions, or identity, sorry. Then, you use the unit circle. We know that sine of 30 is half, but I need negative half. Negative half, that's mean I'm looking about which quadrant the sign is negative. And the sign is negative in quadrant 3 and in quadrant 4. So I need to rotate 3 degrees from the x-axis here and from this, the nearest x-axis with 30 degrees. Then I need to find the measure of the first degree here. Which is 180 plus 30. So the first angle is 210. Now the second one, we need to find now the measure of this angle. So this one here, the green one, it will be 360 minus 30 or 330. So the two angles that their sine is negative half, they are 210 and 330. To check your answer, try in calculator. What is the sine of 330? What is the sine of 210? You will get negative half. So this is the values of that satisfy this equation.
Okay, teacher.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah, teacher.
Now, sometimes you can solve the trigonometric equations by factoring, as this example here. 2 cosine of theta, sine theta plus sine of theta equals 0. 2 cosine theta, sine theta plus sine of theta equals 0. Sometimes you have to think that you can solve it by factoring. It's like xy or 2xy minus x equals 0. When you solve it in Algebra 1, we took x as a common factor. So we have 2y minus 1 equals 0. Then we say that if we have two parentheses, they are multiplied and equal 0. So one of them will be 0. So x, it could be 0, and 2y minus 1, it could be 0. This is how to solve it in Algebra 1. Now, let's see here, how can we solve it by trigonometric functions? Actually, it's the same. Here we have 2 cosine of theta minus sine, or times sine plus sine equals 0. So here we need to take sine as a common factor. Then we take sine as a common factor. We have 2 cosine of theta plus 1. Remember that in order to solve, before that, do you know how to find the common factor?
Yeah.
So you take.
We actually took it a lot, grade 8, I think. Or
Yeah.
grade 9.
Yeah, so here you take sine of theta outside, then try to divide each term by the factor, the common factor. When you divide 2 cosine of theta, sine theta by sine, you get only 2 cosine, and sine over sine, we get only 1, equals 0. So here, sine of theta times 2 cosine of theta plus 1. Now, we know that before that 3 times 0 is 0, and 0 times 5 is 0. So if I have two numbers that are multiplied and the product is 0, so one of them, it could be 0. The first number or the second number, one of them, it could be 0. So in equations here, we have the same. If they are, we have two functions or two expressions, sorry, they are multiplied and the answer is 0. So that means one of them must be 0. So sine of theta, it could be 0, or 2 cosine of theta plus 1, it could be 0. So sine of theta equals 0, or 2 cosine of theta plus 1, it could be 0. Now here, we have to think about all the angles that its sine is 0 and all the angles that its cosine is negative half.
I think
So,
for the sine it's also 0, right? And
for the sine,
180.
we have to ask, yeah, now let's go to the unit circle. Let's see which angles that's here. Let's remember that 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 1, 0, and negative 1, 0. And let's remember that here all. And then, which angle its sine is 0? That could be 0 and 180. So the two angles of theta here will be 0 and 180 degrees. This is the first two angles. Now, I need to find now which angle its cosine is negative half. How to solve it? I will remember, or I will tell you here.
Teacher, here we considered 0 as also 360, right?
Yes, you can write it 0 or 360 as a full rotation.
Okay.
Now, why I write 0 only? Because look at here, they told you from 0 up to 2 pi, and the equal sign on 0 only, not on 2 pi.
Okay.
So you write 2 pi 0 only. So now here, cosine of theta is negative half. How do you solve it? First question, ask yourself, where is or which angle its cosine is half? Positive half. It's 60.
60.
Then, after that, set up. And I want the cosine now is negative. So, in negative, it's in quadrant 2 or quadrant 3. So then, let's now so on quadrant 2 or quadrant 3. So from the nearest x-axis, I rotate 60 degrees. And from the nearest x-axis, I rotate it 60 degrees. For these two angles, this is the first angle here. For this first angle, its cosine is negative half because the first answer, because it rotates 60 degrees from the negative x-axis, and because it's in the second quadrant, so its cosine must be negative half. And the second angle will be from this point up to this one here. This will be the second angle, and this will be the first angle. To find now the orange angle, you have to say 180 minus 60, which is 120. And to find the blue angle, we have to say 180 plus 60, which is 240. So now we have 4 values for this question: 0, 180, 120, and 240.
Teacher, isn't it here we're supposed to make the 60 like it should be in the 180? Like this place of 60 should be the 30. 30, then 45, then 60.
Do you mean I draw it wrongly?
Yeah, like if you write it wrong or no, like here in the place of the 60 it should be like 30. Like it starts with 30. Then
Here, this the smallest one is 30, and the greatest one is 60.
yeah, here, okay, this is the place of 60. So it begins with 30, then 45, then 60.
Yes, okay. Oh.
Okay.
Man, it's not like begin. It's from where you start to rotate. And in this example, I rotate from the negative x-axis. But if you rotate as an example from y, 60 will not be here. It will be in another place. If you start rotating from the y, okay, as an example, we need to draw 60, it will be here. But if you start drawing from the negative x-axis, it will be here. So they are different.
Yes, okay, teacher.
Okay.
The teacher, since here it was negative, so we're going like about the 360, we're going to make it like 360 minus 60 or just minus 60?
Where minus 60?
Like if we had like the delta, it's equal 60, we're going to make it like it's negative 60. We're going to make it like 360 minus 60.
The angle is negative.
Like should we write the negative or we will make it like as it's not negative?
Oh, no, you can say it is like 360 plus negative 60 or 360 minus 60. This minus,
yeah, like both of them are correct.
Yeah, it will be 300.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, in the next period, after the break, we have to continue math, because as I told you before, I took the Thursday period for the physics quiz.